Alright guys, welcome to your 29th HTML5 tutorial, and in this tutorial what we're going to be doing is we're going to be styling through CSS the look of the video player. So we're not going to be making it work or anything like that, but we're going to be making it look awfully pretty. So the very first thing we need to do is, since we said okay, we're linking to a CSS file, we probably should go ahead and make that file right now. So go ahead and hit File, New, and save this as main. I think I called it main.css. Where are you, buddy? Cascading style sheet, and save that baby. So now the very first thing we want to do is we need to use those skills. This stupid cord for my headphones keeps getting in the way. So go ahead and hit body, and we want to center this bad boy. So text, align, center, and that's just going to center our video player. Now I know that I don't have, a header, a footer, article, or any of that crap, but what I like to do whenever I'm working with anything, HTML5 tags like section or nav, I like to go ahead and just include everything, because then if I add anything later on, then I'll be good to go. So header, let's see if I can remember them all. Section, footer, aside, let's see, nav, what are they? Article, and H group. I got a feeling I'm forgetting like two of them, but that'll be good for now. So what I want to do is I want to take all of these and display them as a block, because remember, some things are not blocked by default, so I just want to get everything on the same page. Got an itch on my head, embarrassing. So now what do we have next? Now that we got all our housekeeping stuff done, we can go ahead and start styling this baby. Now remember, our video and our nav player pretty much make up our entire movie player, and that's why I surrounded everything in something called a skin. Now if you ever downloaded like a bunch of illegal like Kaza and Napster, they have these a lot. Different skins are like different feels or like different layouts. You can have like a forest theme or like a Barbie theme, which I tend to prefer. But a skin is pretty much the overall look of your video player. So remember, this entire thing was surrounded in a section called skin, an ID skin. So let's go ahead and style that baby now. So skin, anytime we have something in the skin, let's go ahead and first thing we need to do is set the width of the layout. So remember, our video is 640 pixels wide. So of course our skin needs to be a little bit wider than that, since our video is going to fit inside it. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit 700 pixels. Whatever your video is, make it like 50 pixels wider or somewhere around then. It can be like 50, 100, whatever you want. Just make sure it's wider than your video. Next, I'm going to give it a margin, because by default this is pressed right up against the top of the screen, and I want to butt it down about 10 pixels just so it looks a little prettier. So 10 pixels auto is going to move it down 10 pixels from the top of our website. And after this, I want to give it a padding. Now if you put your video right in your skin, then there's going to be no space between your video and the background. So what we want is a padding. So we want a little bit of separation, or else it's going to look funny. So padding of about 5 pixels is going to give us a nice border around our video, and we also want the background to be red. Now I typically don't like red because it's a really weird color, but whenever you're teaching these things on YouTube, it's going to be really easy to see a nice bright red background. So after this, we need a border, and this is going to be the border around the skin or around the video player. And I'm just going to put mine like 4 pix solid black, and you typically only want it 1 or 2 pixels, but again, for demonstration purposes, I want a nice thick black border. So the very next thing I want to add is I want to give this thing rounded corners. Now actually, I'm not sure if you need the WebKit for this. If I just put border radius, I think that is standard right now, so this should go ahead and give it rounded corners without adding WebKit. Actually, let me go ahead and refresh this and see. Yep, there we go. So by the way, there's a little tip. Anytime you use border radius, you can just use that. You don't need WebKit or anything. And like I said, we have a width of 700 pixels, a margin of 10. What that does is it just moves it 10 pixels from this line to this line. And let's see what else. The padding is pretty much the space between the video and the border, this nice little red line, because I didn't want it to butt up right against there. The background of red, the border is of course solid black, and the border radius just gives it nice round corners. So now that our pretty much overall skin is taken care of, we can go ahead and move on to the next section. Now, under our skin, we have our video, which we don't need to take care of because, that's just their video. We can't really change that unless we film a new video. And we have our navigation bar. Now, the navigation bar has our play button in it, which is right there. And it also has our progress bar, which isn't shown up because we didn't make one yet. So let's go ahead and the very first thing we need to do is make some overall settings for this navigation. So I'm going to go ahead and hit nav, and I'm going to give it an overall margin just because I want this nav to kind of separate from the video. I don't want it bunched up. I'm going to give it a margin of 5 pixels, 0 pixels, and this is just going to, give it a little bit of spacing on the top and bottom. So after this, what do we have after this? The buttons. Now I have a div tag right here and I called it buttons, but the truth is there's only one button inside here. I just named it buttons because if I ever decide to make more buttons later on, maybe I want a stop button or a forward rewind button, I can add those buttons. But now I only have one button, so I didn't want to mislead you guys. So let's go ahead and style those buttons section right now. So I'm going to make an ID and I'm going to call it buttons. And in here, the first rule I want to make is float left. Now on all the video players, YouTube, I'm just going to use YouTube as my standard. The play button and pause button, they're all on the left hand side, and this is how they achieve that float left. Now after this, I need to give a set width for those buttons, or for the button section, and that's because I'm going to give a set width for the progress bar, and you need to define widths because when you're making calculations later on, you need to know the width of these things. So width, I'm just going to make it like 70 pixels. Anything from like 50 to 100 should be fine. And I'm going to go ahead and give it a default height too. So I'm going to give it a height of 22 pixels, and that should be pretty good. So now let's go ahead and save this and refresh it and see what it looks like. We got our play button, which has a little bit of spacing on the top and bottom. It's floated to the left, and even though you can't see it, it has a width of 70 and a height of 22. And right here on this section right here is where our progress bars are going to go, or whenever the video plays, you can see a little thing that's going to move as the video starts and stops. And you can also are going to be able to click that and move the video around. But we have to program all that, but before we get to the programming, we actually have to make it in CSS. And I'm going to be showing you guys how to make that, and it's going to be absolutely amazing. And then I'm going to show you guys how to program it. So anyways, enough of me talking about what I'm going to do. I'm just going to end the video, and then in the next video, you guys can follow along with me. So thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.